ॐ गणानां त्वा गणपतिगं नमामहे कविं कवीनां वर्षवस्तमं ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणस्पत आनः शृण्वन्नोतिभिस्सीदसादनं श्रीमहागणपतये नमः। प्रणो देवी सरस्वती वाजेभिर्वाजिनीवती धीनामवित्र्यवतु महासरस्वत्यै नमः। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। गुरुवे सर्वलोकानां विशजे भवरोगिणां निधये सर्वविद्यानां श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। अस्मिन् गुरुचरणारविन्दाभ्यां नमः। देवीं वाचमजनयन्त देवाः तां विश्वरूपा पशवो वदन्ति सा नो मन्दिरेषु मूर्जन्दुहाना धेनुर्भागस्मानुपतिष्ठितैतु या सम्पदिष्टनप्तारं शक्ते पौत्रमकल्मषं पराशरात्मजं वन्दे शुकतातं तपोनिधिं व्यासाय विष्णुरूपाय व्यासरूपाय विष्णवे नमो वै ब्रह्मनिधये वासिष्ठाय नमो नमः। श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। श्रीलता महात्रिपुरसुन्दरी समेत श्री चंद्रमौळीश्वराय नमः। श्री कांची कामकोटि पीठाधिपति जगद्गुरु श्री शंकराचार्य श्री चरणयोः प्रणामाः। हस्त श्रीमद्ग्रहमण्डलालंकार त्रिंशत्कोटि देवता सेवित श्री कामाक्षी देवी सनाथ श्रीमती काम्रनाथ श्री महादेवी सनाथ श्री हस्तगिरिनाथ साक्षात्कार परमाधिष्ठान सत्यव्रत नामांकित कांची दिव्य क्षेत्रे शारदा मठ सुस्थितानाम् अतुलित उद्धार समाधुर्य कमलासन कामिनी धम्मिल्ल संफुल्ल मल्लिका मालिका निश्चंद मकरंद झरी सौवस्तिक भांग निगुंभ विजृंभणानंद तुंदलित मनीष मंडलानां नवरताद्वैत विद्या विनोद रसिकानां निरन्तरालंकृतीकृत शांतिदान्ति भूम्नां सकल भुवन चक्र प्रतिष्ठापक श्रीचक्र प्रतिष्ठा विख्यात यशोलंकृतानां निखिल पाषण्डजंट कंठकोद्घाटनेन विशदीकृत वेद वेदांत मार्ग शन्मत प्रतिष्ठापकाचार्याणां श्रीमत् परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्यवर्य श्री जगद्गुरु श्रीमत् शंकर भगवत्पादाचार्याणाम् अधिष्ठाने सिंहासनाभिषिक्त श्रीमत् चंद्रशेखरेन्द्र सरस्वती संयमीन्द्राणाम् अधिष्ठाने सिंहासनाभिषिक्त श्रीमज्जयेन्द्र सरस्वती संयमीन्द्राणाम् अन्तेवासिवर्य श्रीमशंकर विजयेन्द्र सरस्वती ऋषिपादानां च चरणधरणीयोः सप्रश्रियं साञ्जलिबन्धं च नमस्कुर्मः। श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः. So let's quickly finish the Vishnu Sahasranamam part of it. We stopped at shloka number 15, right? Last time. You don't hear any audio? Okay. Screen, yeah, screen video is okay. I just need to make sure that the audio is correct. Okay. Yeah, just let me know, then I can correct it because I ensure the audio settings are correct. Uh, okay, no problem. Fine. Yeah. So we talked about Nyasam last time, right? So we completed all the shlokas there. We completed the Adhika Patha and we started with the Purvanyasam, correct? So up to Devata, I think Devata, we can revise that and we can continue from there. So any questions on, Parabrahma Rishis, etc., Chandaha, Devata, Sonalji or Radha? Okay. Okay, so let me explain without going into repetition of what I did, because in the US batch I've gone into details, so you can even refer to that batch video also. So typical of any chanting, when we do mantra jap or when we do parayan, uh, we have a concept of, or even before starting any puja, we have a concept of nyasam. Nyasam is shuddhikaranam. Okay, and the general structure is you have a declaration statement in the beginning. Yeah, so that is the first line. Astya Shri Vishnu Divya Sahasranama Stotra Mahamantrasya. We're talking of the Mahamantra or the shloka. Um in this case, it is Vishnu Sahasranam. It's very clearly evident from the declaration statement. So, and then we thank or we recognize the author or the person through which, or the rishi through which we heard it, because there is nothing is written. So it is heard through the rishis. We typically say credit the rishi. So in this case, it is Sri Vedavyaso Bhagavan Rishi. And then we say what is the meter in which we are going to chant. And if in the special class, if we get the time, I will explain in this context how Anushtup Chanda works as an example. So instead of just saying there are several chandas and each one has got some meters, number, etc., for which you will say yes, 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 but still not be able to appreciate it, there is a good explanation I can take as one example of how people say what is a chandas and how you maintain it. So in this case, you say chandas means you meter, so you keep it in front of your mouth, the hand, the mudra, and say Anushtup Chanda. You're able to see me, right? Or is it the laptop is blocking? Ah, okay. Okay, can you see me now? Okay, so Parabrahma Rishi is at the top. Anushtup Chandaha is here. Then you say, touch your heart, which is again the sternum area, a place where your ribs connect, and there's a soft tissue, a soft spot there. Sri Mahavishnu Paramatma Srimannarayano Devata. So you talk about the God that you are praising or appreciating, or uh, in whose name the prayers are chanted. Then there is a concept of Bijam, Shakti, and Kilakam, right? Sunil ji, sun lijiyega. Then, if you can replay the YouTube and take notes, that will be easy. So that way you will see what I am doing. Otherwise, you'll be. So Rishi Chandas Devata. That is very simple and clear. Then you talk about Bijam, Shakti, Kilakam, because when you're invoking these gods into your body, what you're saying is that the seeds of this mantra and the energy that the mantra brings in into your body should unlock and explode and deliver, right? It's just not I'm saying something by looking at the PDF, I'm reading it, so my body is pure. It doesn't work like that. So every time you do the Bijakshara or the Devata name and you touch that particular part of the body, the position of that point has to be correct. And you have to mentally visualize that that energy is passing through that contact, that sparsha, and transcends all the three layers: Sukshma Sharira, Stula Sharira, and Karana Sharira. It's not just the skin to skin contact itself. It's about the belief that yes, that energy pervades through all the three layers. That is when Shuddhi Karanam happens. Initially, it may sound very abstract, very difficult, but as you start doing it, you will see that your mind is able to stabilize and sort of able to focus, right? So you need to get the mind under control to learn how to get the control of mind. That's a paradox there. So you start it, it is a cyclical loop, right? So Bijam is on the right side of the breast here. Shakti is the left side. I don't know whether you can see it. Left side. This is the front camera, so you will see everything opposite. So this is my left hand, not right hand. Okay, since it's a front camera on the Google Meet. However, on YouTube you will see it properly. So left side, and then Kilakam is where you touch between the heart and your nabhi, belly button, and that's where the unlocking happens. And those three positions are again alternate positions. In some cases, there will be other positions of the body, parts of the body that you have to touch. But those things you will learn as you advance. So here it says, Amritan Shudbhavo Bhanurati Bijam. Then Devaki Nandana Srashteti Shakti. When you are chanting Bijam, you have to touch that part. When you're saying Devaki Nandana Srashteti Shakti, touch the left side of the breast. Then you say Udbhavaha Kshobhano Deva Iti Paramo Mantraha. At that time, and Shankha Brannanda Ki Chakriti Kilakam. At that time, you touch the Kilakam part between the heart and the belly button, right? So Udbhavaha Kshobhano. That Visarga there is never substituted if the Visarga is followed by the Akshara Ksha. For everything else, there is a general rule that it will be half of the other letter, the following letter. In this case, it is Udbhavah Kshobhano Deva iti paramo mantraha. Okay. Then Sharngadhanva Gadadhara ityastram. Sharngadhanva Gadadhara ityastram. Rathangapanirakshobhya iti netram. Netra is eyes. Okay. Trisama sama gassameti kavacham. Here. Anandam parabrahmeti yonihi. Yoni is the private part. And again, I am assuming all of us are adult enough to understand and come out of the mindset that we are straight-jacketed from childhood. How can you touch a private part? How can you do that in public? When we are into the spiritual arena, spiritual world, we don't just keep focus on the gross body level. We transcend beyond that, and the journey starts from developing a mindset that whatever is being taught is the right thing to do. Right? So you may have to unlearn some of the things that you were taught in school or when you were a child. So Ritas Sudarshanah Kala iti Digbandha. So Digbandhanam you do like this. Ritas Sudarshanah Kala iti Digbandha. Right? Then whenever you say Dhyanam, you do this folding of hands close to your heart. I think I mentioned it. Maybe, pardon me if I ever keep repeating some of the things, because I don't know in which class what information I share. It's very difficult to keep track. But there's no harm in repeating it oneself. So it can be a revision for myself, if not for you. So this is a very important mudra. This is not something that you can take it lightly. I'm just folding my hands. So what is the problem for you? No, these things are meant. Mudras are meant for transmitting energies. So you be very careful what you do when you do. So there are different positions where you hold your hand like this, and the side, if both the thumbs are closed, it is not open, and you try to bend it so that this part, the first digit, is protruding out, and you touch your heart like this. I don't know that I can stand up and show it, or yeah, there's something like this. This part should be touching the heart. Okay. This is the heart. The hand should be heart, not like this or close to the mouth or top. The position of the hand, I'm saying, yeah. And when you're doing this from the sideways, if you can see this should not be out close. Bend it a little bit so that it's projecting. So this part, can you see this? I don't want to bring my hand too close because it's a digital world. Yeah, it is a digital world. This thing can be picked up. I don't want to do that, right? So yeah, so I can close it and show you this part. Yeah. Okay, this has to touch the heart. So that is what you do when you do Sri Vishwarupa iti Dhyanam. Okay. The same mudra when you chant the next part, or we are taught doing this from here. This hand, when you are holding it, you do this way. I'm raising the hand just to show to the camera. The position is here, so you do the same thing in front of your heart. So Viniyogaha, we always do this, or you can even keep it as it is. That is also fine. Okay. Yeah. Rather, the audio is okay. Super. Super. Thank you. Yeah. So Sri Vishwarupa iti Dhyanam Sri Mahavishnu Prityartham Sahasranama Jape Viniyogaha Sri Mahavishnu Prityartham Sahasranama Jape Viniyogaha Dhyanam. And then you start with the Dhyana Shloka. So the structure is the same, regardless of which god you worship. or what you do, whether you're chanting full Vishnu Sahasranamam or Lalita Sahasranamam, or you're doing mantra japa of Mula Mantra, this structure is the same. Right? So the concept at a higher level, in some cases, there could be more elaborate nyasa. So don't get confused with that. Understand the concept, the declaration statement, give credit to the Rishi, talk about the meter, mention about the Devata, and then you come to, in some cases, detailed Karanyasa, which is the 6 parts of the hand. Kara means hand, 6 parts of the hand. First is the Angushtabhyam Namaha, Tarjanibhyam Namaha, Madhyamabhyam Namaha, Anamikabhyam Namaha, Kanishtikabhyam Namaha, Karatala Karaprashtabhyam Namaha. This is the shortest of the Karanyasam, hands. Then 6 Anganyasam, Shadanganyasam, heart, Shiras, Shikha, Kavacham, Netram, and Astraya Phat. After that, you do the Digbandhanam. This structure. This is the shortest version, 6 and 6. Then you get into Dhyanam and Dhyana Shlokam. Dhyana Shlokam is when you actually visualize the god pictorially. You cannot just keep reading the PDF. You have to visualize the god. So memorize these shlokas so you can close your eyes and meditate and think of that god in all of her or his form that we know of. Right? And in certain cases, you will see Panchopachara, the shortest form of Upachara. So if people are interested, I can take one class for the detailed Nyasam part of it and Upacharas. And what was the other thing that I said we can take the Dhyana Shlokas. So there can be 2 special classes. If you can tell me you're ready for it, then we can handle it. And Sonalji, if you are able to flex it a little bit, I can give you the Gyan in Brahma Muhurt for you. I hope you understand what I mean. Yeah, I can combine the USA and India and UK class together instead of making two sessions. So we will stop with this in Vishnu Sahasranamam today, so that we can get started with the Mundaka Upanishad. Right? So far, so good. Yeah. Once we get into the shlokas, then we can move fast. We don't need so much of talks and discussions. Radha, are you okay? Okay. So maybe she has stepped away. Yeah. Or she's talking with the mic on mute. So, Mundaka Upanishad, back to the stuff that we want to learn. So far, is it okay? Whatever we discussed, yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. So, Mundaka Upanishad, again, in the USA session, I went into the details. I will keep adding more and more content in terms of explaining it, in terms of what is the significance of Mundaka Upanishad. See, as I said, it's one of the core Upanishads. Why it is so significant is important to understand. Second is the distinctive specialty of this is for people with the willingness to learn the Paravidya. Uh, Para means you're willing to learn or go beyond the belief system of saying, I believe what I see. Right? We are tuned to that. I have to see that, yeah, this is a airport, or I have to see that this is a coaster. I have to see, and somebody has to tell me. Uh, and we are so drawn into that world of science and seeing everything through science, thinking that science drives everything, versus science as a subject itself came through a reverse engineering of human effort to understand nature. Science did not create nature. Nature existed, and we are trying to understand it through the concept of science. So, if you start doing this comparison of law versus faith or science versus faith and try to prove which one is superior, I think you're down a rabbit hole, in my opinion. It's a never ending discussion. And beyond a point, people who are in the pursuit of spiritual learning, which is basically trying to understand what is nature and what has been given to us on a platter, they will stop arguing and they'll say, yeah, you're right. Because you cannot convince somebody that doesn't want to get convinced. And uh, the people following spiritual path have tried several different ways: explanation way, debate way, or counter argument way, or questioning way. None of that works, because the problem is, you're trying to teach somebody what they should know at the beginning to understand the subject itself, which is the mind. To go into the path of spiritual learning, my simple advice to anybody who wants to do that is, first come with a belief that yes, these things mean something, they exist because they are real, and have patience to build on the small building blocks of knowledge. Today you will learn something small. Hold it right there. Tomorrow you'll learn something else. Day after tomorrow something else. You hold those building blocks with patience, and slowly, when you start learning more and more, you know how to arrange that puzzle yourself. That is the only way you can learn. So you start with the belief system that yes, these are all true. They mean something. They exist. It is time for me to understand by sharpening my mind, because unless you sharpen your mind, some of the concepts may not be even understood. So the only way is to invest with belief and faith, and invest with belief and faith in the guru that teaches you all these things, because that guru must have learned it from somebody else, and somebody else, the chain goes, which is what we call as a guru parampara, and that knowledge is passed not with any selfish intent. So I'm not trying to brainwash you, or I'm not trying to build a cult here. I'm just sharing the knowledge that exists in those core scriptures. These are not written by anybody, so there is no hidden agenda. So our system says always believe in things that have been the the gift of nature, rather than somebody writing about it. And why I'm keeping on harping on this point, when we talk about Mundaka Upanishad, is that is the whole crux of this Upanishad. And I went through in my study one beautiful explanation by yogi in Ramakrishna Mission. She put it in a very simple word. She said the science believers of science and physics have convinced you that everything is boiling down to matter. Right? You agree? You don't have to be a science student to say that. We all know everything is a matter. Everything is matter. Correct? Have you ever seen matter yourself? No. You believe when somebody says so, because you look at the qualification. Oh, Harvard graduate, MIT graduate, IIT. We attach names. None of those people have ever studied at Harvard. You may not have even visited Harvard, but you want to put that belief in that. Oh, Harvard means great. MIT means great. So when you can do that in that system, why not about that faith in our system that we're talking about, right? So the path is same. So why the theory of matter is being challenged is, they kept on drumming this whole concept of matter is everything. Matter is the core foundation of all of us, until they realized that 96% of the universe, of the cosmos, is made of dark matter. How much? Uh, so the theory that you were drum beating, they themselves contradicted after some time. And one more anecdote which I would like to share, and I'm not promoting anybody here, because I pick up the best of many people's explanation, because it's very difficult to find good orators in our system. The West has many people who can talk effortlessly for hours. In our system, we believe in low profile, keeping it quiet, and no zero marketing. So in that world, when you get some knowledgeable people who can explain things in a very simple concept, I like that, because then it makes it easy for me also to make people understand. So there was a person that questioned this whole concept of Shiva is nothing and nothing is Shiva. Looks like a very eccentric statement, right? What nonsense, what are you talking about? You're saying there is nothing, and then you're saying that nothing is me. So Sadhguru gave a fantastic answer. He said, all of you understand the solar system: Earth, Moon, right? Sun, Mercury, Venus, right, Sonalji? And then somebody says the names of the graha, you will remember the names of the graha. Somebody says it has impact on you, you will say yes. Great. Have you ever bothered where all these things are rotating and revolving? Never. Huh? Yeah, but there is no way that you just give names, right? Our focus is always on that object. Earth means we look at that object, round, this color. Mars is a reddish color. We don't see the maximum dark color, black colors, which we call space, in which all of these things are happening. Is there a boundary for that? That is what when we call Shiva means nothing, means that nothing. So everything is in me. So aren't all these grahas and other devatas happening within that? So what's wrong? Unless we explain in Cambridge English in such simple terms, you won't accept it. So why I'm bringing this example is, again, if you want to understand the real meaning of Mundaka Upanishad, that is what they're trying to say. Uh, it is when you say that this is an airport, the process of learning is somebody drum beats into you. I don't want to use the word programming. By saying white color stuff like this shape with two airpods, etc., is called airport. First time you are learning, you are programming the data into your brain. So next time when you see that object, your brain compares through the eyes, which is a camera, and says, "Oh, okay, this matches this particular information in my brain, and that is called airport. So I know this is airport." Make sense? Yeah. So that is the perception. You yourself don't know this is airport. You have no clinical evidence this is airport except the simple process of experience. Right? Now, uh, take it to a slightly different argument. I'm sure there are vegetables that you will be confused what it is. Somebody will say pepper, somebody will say mirchi. You don't know what it is. Just because they lie in the borderline. Until some expert will say, oh, okay, out of the 10 characteristics, this is the distinctive characteristic that is different between the two. For a moment, understand that both the people who are debating have not thought about that particular distinctive character. Don't you think the same object is being seen by two people, and one will go saying it is pepper, one will say it is mirchi? Correct? Bottom line, your understanding or knowledge is through that experience. That is why you have different views of different people on the same topic. How you see it, how you experience it. I can write a number 6 in my palm and show you. You will read it as 9, I will read it as 6. Both of us are right. So we can go on and on with several examples of that. So this knowledge or the arrogance that we get through this knowledge, that I know this, I'm a PhD in this, I'm a master's in this. That ego that surfaces because of that knowledge blinds us from learning further, from learning and in our quest for further knowledge to challenge ourselves whether what we know is the real truth. So, what is the solution to the problem? The solution is start believing in the other side of the story until you traverse the journey, and you will realize at some point of time when your mind or consciousness is developed to differentiate what is the truth. Am I making sense? No, you can say no freely without inhibition if you don't agree with what I'm saying. Because moment we get into the meaning of the shlokas, you will find it difficult to understand if you don't understand this concept. That is why I'm taking so much time. You know it by experience. That is a fact today, right? because we don't know what is consciousness. In our system, we say matter is not fundamental, it is a consciousness. Everything that you believe, see, learn, experience is through that consciousness. So the level of consciousness in you will be different than mine. So my level of understanding on the same topic would be different than yours. So if we just come to an agreement on this fundamental aspect, we will know that each one of us is on our own path. I don't have to debate and prove that you are dumb. You don't have to do that to me, and there is no need for dvesha. The whole set of consequential paraphernalia disappears. We respect each other, right? Just like when you drive on the freeway, you respect somebody going in a Bugatti or a Lamborghini, and you also respect somebody who's going to Fiat or Ambassador, right? You don't have to say that you don't have a right to exist. They are gods, and vice versa, or you don't have to be jealous of them. Each one going in their own lane. It is essential for people to understand that, because people who try to learn Mundaka Upanishad are people who want to reach that level, because unless you cross that level, there is no concept of liberation or moksha. Make sense? So you start believing that there is something called Jivatma, there is something called Paramatma. There are tools and techniques by which we activate our mind and intellect and the consciousness until we experience it ourselves. And as we experience it, we will become more and more knowledgeable, and we will be able to narrow the gap between what we call it as Maya, the world of Maya, and what reality is. Okay, so quick couple of points. In saying that we have to develop our mind and intellect and understand consciousness, the essence of what Mundaka Upanishad starts with is, it says you need to have the ability to do tapas. The moment we use the word tapas, people, I'm sure all three of you would have different meaning of that. I just use the word tapas, and you will relate to tapas the way you have experienced it or learned about it in whichever context. Some will say tapas means, a saffron-clad person sitting in the Himalayas in the cold. Some will say, oh, you're talking of a saffron-clad, shaven-head person uh, sitting in an ashram sleeping on the floor. Each one will have their own interpretation and meaning. I can guarantee you that. You can go to any of my YouTube channel in the past of any class. I would ask one question, I'll get about 6 different answers on the same question, which is okay. That is how we are. That is who we are. But if I have to dilute the whole thing into a very simplistic term, tapas means my willingness to sacrifice something that I'm nearly and dearly attached to. You could start with the very smallest of the things. We are proud to say, oh, it's a morning caffeine. Without it, I can't start my day. The day you're able to give up that morning coffee or delay that, instead of saying at 7 o'clock, I need coffee at any cost, I'm willing to take it at 8, your tapas starts from there. And you start injecting that philosophy in every action of yours, every belief of yours, every conversation of yours. You're already a tapaswini. And credit to all moms. I'm not trying to berate fathers. You are way ahead than men, because you already do tapas in many areas which you don't know that it is tapas. So do not underestimate yourself or underrate yourself. You say that, yes, I have it in me and I'm able to pursue the same path and extend that logic to other areas in my pursuit of knowledge. Just like when you married and produce kids, and you never put a timeline, right? Things happen. You are not afraid of the commitment you're making to those children for lifetime. You're willing to do this over and over again, day in and day out. So you have it in you. If you're able to apply that same logic and extend that same logic to other areas and say, okay, how do I start giving up these attachments? And you need to have that confidence and no fear to be able to do it, because you will not be able to honestly sacrifice anything if you have the fear that once I give up this AirPod, I won't be able to enjoy all the other things that others are enjoying. So moment you say sacrifice, the word enjoyment or pleasure comes in. So withdrawal from the sense of pleasure or enjoyment or desire is what we call it as renunciation, right? So while the language etc. is would appear as if these things are meant for sannyasis, if it is in the diluted format, it is applicable for each one of us in our own way. So far, so good. Okay. So let's take the first Mundaka. Om Brahmadevanam Pratamassambabhuva Vishwasya Karta Bhuvanasya Gopta Sa Brahma Vidyam Sarva Vidya Pratishthamatharvaya Jyeshtaputraya Praha. This is the first shloka. What I'm going to do is just to give you a very literal meaning of the words, and then I will summarize it. That way it will be easy. So I will attempt to teach it this way. If you find this is convenient and good, we will continue the same way for all the shlokas from the next class. If you want me to make some changes, I can do that as well. Vishwasya means of the universe. Vishwasya. Karta, the maker. Bhuvanasya, of the world. Bhuvanasya means of the world. So Karta Bhuvanasya is maker of the world. Gopta is protector. Gopta means protector. Brahma, no need for explanation. Devanam means of the gods. Devanam means of the gods. Prathamaha, first or before. Sambabhuva means was. The second half of the shloka. Was. 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 Sa. Saha means he, referring to Brahma. Sarva Vidya Pratishtham means the basis of knowledge. Brahma Vidyam, the knowledge of Brahman. Jyeshtaputraya, to his eldest son. Atharvaya, to Atharva. That is the name of the eldest son. Praha, told. You want me to repeat any of the words? Remember, you can play the YouTube again and again to take notes also. So, again, clear up your mind. Don't come under the pressure of, because in that pressure, you lose what you're supposed to hear. Yeah. So, nothing comes in the, huh? Yes. So, I'm coming to that. So, if individual words' meaning are understood, the meaning of this shloka is Brahma, the maker of the universe, who is also the protector of the world, came into being before all the gods. Came into being before all the gods. Brahma told his eldest son Atharvan. What did he tell him? The concept of Brahman. Concept of Brahman, which is the basis of all knowledge. Sounds very simple, right? The shloka is pretty complicated if you don't know Sanskrit. But when you translate it, it sounds very simple. Again, having heard this, I'll repeat the shloka one more time slowly so you can relate to the words now. Om Brahma Devanam Pratamassambabhuva Vishwasya Karta Bhuvanasya Gopta स ब्रह्मविद्यां सर्वविद्या प्रतिष्ठामथर्वाय ज्येष्ठपुत्राय प्राह. Now, with this little knowledge of the words, you are able to now understand the whole shloka better, right? Sonalji, you still seem worried. No, I can repeat something if some of the words are not understood or if any concept is not understood. आप बेझिझक पूछिए. हाँ, बेझिझक पूछिए आप. Without any hesitation. I said ask question. No question is dumb question. Fair enough. I'm in the same boat. There are many things that I try to learn. I go through the exact same process. Because we don't do this for our living. If you do this for our living, I can talk hours and hours if we do this for a living. We don't do this for a living, right? So it takes time. But what I can also assure you is the method of learning is to go over it over and over again. A few iterations, you will see the pattern. A few iterations, you will know the meaning. Few iterations, you will know the context. It is like when there are advantages of disadvantages of zooming in and zooming out. But that zoom in, zoom out has to be a constant process in the process of learning, which means, let's say you want to enter the forest. You can't enter the forest by looking at the first tree and say, I'm going to get in now. You're going to get lost, right? You need to zoom out, visualize the whole forest, have some idea. Have some idea that this is the forest, it is in S shape or U shape, something. You got to have the big picture to begin with. And then you zoom in and say, where is the entrance for this? How do I enter? And where do I enter this from? Get in. But when you progress, you keep that big picture in mind that innately guide you. If let's say that the big picture is not even aware that this particular forest is 10 kilometer long, half a kilometer long, it is in U shape, S shape, X shape, you may go through this woods in the forest and endlessly keep circling and may get lost. So do the zoom in, zoom out constantly, reassure yourself that you're on the right path. And first get the big picture. So what is the overall general message that is being delivered in this shloka? You may not get the terms right. Oh, okay. What is the name of the sun you said? I don't know. Okay. Go back and read the notes. Take the notes. You can do it through the YouTube replay over and over again and try to form your own picture. Don't worry about whether your picture is right or wrong. Because as we talk and learn the entire Upanishad, you will have plenty of opportunity to revise, review, and if something I say later contradicts with what you thought that can be a discussion and say, I thought I understood this, but so that is called course correction, which is a very normal process of learning. Now, why I'm giving such a big lecture on this is if you live in apprehension or fear and anxiety, those are the biggest triggers or nemesis for understanding the mind or mind control. Every one of those terms brings in instability. Fear means you put a block. I can't get past this. There may not be a wall, but you're building that wall in your mind. It will not allow you to progress. Whereas your effort should be to break open that wall fearlessly. You're not going to fall down. You're not going to get lost. Right? So just because you learned in 10 minutes that you have to start renunciating many things in your life, I don't think you're going to start dropping everything from tomorrow. You built it over many years. You will put also a very calculated plan to say what I want to do and how I want to do it in a very judicious manner. So the answer to fear is only knowledge. The more you gain knowledge, the fear will go away. Until you get the knowledge, the fear will take over you. Make sense? So once again, Vishwasya means of the universe, Karta the maker, Bhuvanasya of the world, Gopta the protector, Brahma, Devanam of the gods. He was before everybody else. Sambhabhuva was, Saha is reference to him. Sarva Vidya Pratishtham, the basis of all knowledge, which is Brahma Vidyam, the knowledge of Brahman, is what he told to the Jeshtaputra, to his eldest son, Atharvaya, Atharvan. Praha means told. So if you suddenly find, I don't find the word Atharvaya, go back to the concept of Padabedam in Sanskrit. Sarva Vidya Pratishtham is the word I said as the basis of knowledge. So Pratishtham plus Atharvaya, Im plus A becomes Ma. Are you able to follow, Sonalji? Prat- no, simple. Okay, forget the word Sanskrit. You understand Gujarati, right? Okay, Im plus A becomes Ma. That's all I'm explaining. So if I'm saying Pratishtham is the word for the basis of all knowledge, the word is Pratishtham, it ends in Im. The next word starts with Atharvaya, which is the name of the sun. In Sanskrit, you combine those two words, Sarva Vidya Pratishtham, Atharvaya. Two words are combined, that Im plus A becomes Ma. So you will read the word as Sarva Vidya Pratishtham Atharvaya. Got it? Yeah. Okay. I'll keep repeating this over and over again in different context, in different words. So slowly you will get the picture. But just focus on what you need to learn rather than saying, I'm still not getting it. Everything will suddenly become crystal clear. But this has to be open. That is a key thing. If this is locked, the mind is blocked, then nothing will go in. So we just covered the first sloka. I don't want to hold you for too long because it's already 1 hour. So we'll stop with this. Try to go through the YouTube video. Take notes. Ask questions. If you have doubts, put it in the group. The reason I'm saying that is we can be interactive during the week whenever we have time. We don't have to wait for this class where a class is something where you can be more interactive and get into deeper debates and discussions rather than getting basic answers. So that exchange can happen in the group. Anything related to this topic, you can feel free to exchange in the group. Everybody will benefit from that. And don't hesitate to ask those questions. Yeah. So most answer can be no. And the reason I never fear in any classes, I never made any promise to everybody that I know everything. So I'm not accountable to any performance standards. I told I know everything, so now how can I say no? No, if I don't know, I will say I don't know. It can be a collective learning too, right? So focus on what you're learning, and slowly the building blocks will help you, right? Because as you go down the other slokas, the concept will become deeper and deeper. So I'm not in any kind of a rush to say, I took 10 shlokas today and I'm done with Mundaka Upanishad. Great, you know how to read it, how to chant it, but you don't know what it means. There's no point in chanting it, right? Yeah. So go through the YouTube, take notes and give me the feedback. Yeah, Radha, you were going to say something? It is, some people have put music, very simple ones. We can go into that once we get the fluency in the shloka. That's very easy to put it into. Or what I can do is I can do an audio of that, what I know of as a very simple one, and I'll put that shloka before the next week. You see whether it suits you. Mm. When yeah, so when we are analyzing what happened in the past, that is a context in which, instead of saying that it's something that happened now, all these things have already happened. If you remember the Kal Chakra that I said, everything has happened. We are just going through that slide deck at every second of our Kal Chakra. For us, it's a new learning. The event has already happened. The creation has already happened. Yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. And no, I must thank you, because I would have never picked up this Upanishad in the next 10 years for any of my class. I can guarantee you that. It was never in my list, because I am in the process of learning so many elementary things, and it is taking years to even understand. And it's exactly the same story. That's why I told you, Sonalji. By the time I learned the fifth chapter, I forgot what I learned in the first chapter. But I went through the spiral with optimism. I said, one day I will crack the code. And I did. So now, as soon as I cracked the code, I was able to traverse faster, because everything that I read for 8 years or 6 years fell in place. And that's the only way to do it. Yeah, we don't realize that. Yeah, yeah. So what happens is, we have two different sets of people. I don't want to sound too philosophical. I'll just tune off the YouTube, because I don't want. Okay, uh, we have two sets of personalities.